Have you ever lost a loved one, yet still feel connected? Do you believe there is life after this life? Welcome to Still Connected. Welcome to the show, Ellen.
Thank you very much.
Where do you live, Ellen?
I live in Billerica.
How long have you lived there?
Almost 30 years.
How do you like it?
Oh, I like it very much. It's a wonderful town.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your experiences and your expectation today coming to the show.
I have had a couple of other readings, so I'm a little bit aware of the type of things that may or may not come out. So, I hope to be able to hear some things from relatives that have passed.
Okay, so could you tell us a little bit more about the relatives that have passed?
I have, my grandparents all have passed, and some aunts and uncles. Mm-hmm. So, my father is one of 5, and all of his brothers and sisters have passed.
So do you still feel connected to some of them?
Yes, some were from New Hampshire, and, we saw them all at the holidays, which, we just went through now, and I was together with some of my cousins, and it just brought back memories of being with them as well.
Okay, so could you share with us like a couple of the stories with some of them?
Well, my Aunt Mary is my father's oldest sister. There's 16 years difference, so in some ways he was like she was like another mother to him. And so, we would always, go to her house for New Year's Day. And my cousin, she lived with my cousin, and so we would have group, the family get together on New Year's Day.
So what was your relationship like with your Aunt Mary?
When we went as a family, we could talk to her. She always had pictures of us that my parents would send up as we were going through school, and then again as my children were born, in some ways I'm of Greek ethnicity, and so even great aunts and uncles tend to be called grandmother and grandfather, and so my children would call her Yaya Mary, which is Greek for grandmother.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are going to bring Regina Saul, who is a psychic medium, up in a few minutes.
Okay.
That she's going to do a reading for you. We don't know who is going to come.
That's right.
Yes. So, welcome to the show, Regina.
Thank you.
We have Ellen today on the show, and so Ellen is a guest, and she's hoping to get some readings from you.
Okay.
So take it
I'm
over,
hoping to give
Regina.
her some. Actually, and as I was coming through, as I was coming in, I felt like I was followed by a man. A man is here. He's saying he's been here before. He's a generation back. I feel like he's showing me his head. And he's showing me hair, and he's showing me that as a younger person, what he's showing me is dark hair, but then he's showing me that some men show me, and they're like very proud of the fact that they didn't lose their hair, but he's showing me, he's showing me his hair, and he's showing me the fact that it was very dark. I also feel that this man, I other than seeing hair, I don't actually see him, but I feel him, and I feel like right, so let's review. It's like a generation back. I feel like this is a close family member, and I feel like he had very dark hair when he was younger, and like maybe, I don't know, dark.
Darker than my hair?
I'm trying to see it, like I'm picturing, but I really feel like maybe a little darker than your hair. And I also feel like he wasn't very tall, like for a man. Can you take all that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I also feel like he wasn't really big, but he wasn't also, he wasn't a big man, but he wasn't a thin man. Like I feel, I'm trying to pick a word to put to it. Like he was
Broad.
what?
Broad up here.
I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. He wasn't thin. He had a manliness. The word I want to use is a manliness to him. Can you take that?
Okay.
Like
Yeah, there are a few people that it's
Okay.
possibilities. So
I really feel like we're going we're not
Oh, 2 generations?
2 generations back.
Okay.
So 2 generations back with all this. Do you want me to review, or do you got it?
It's a possibility that, it could be my grandfather.
I feel like this is the person, I'm feeling like he's showing me himself like in a shirt, like a button-down shirt. This was not the type of a man that like walked around in his t-shirt.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I didn't do t-shirts. I
Dressed.
I dressed, and that was important to me. I wanted to, I had that, I wanted that air. I wanted that. The word I feel like I want to use is like an air, of being respectable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I feel like I really want to be like, I'm not seeing right now. There's a lot of feeling, and I feel like I want to be respectable. I feel like so he would have dressed accordingly, like on a regular basis.
Yes.
Like even like a Saturday morning.
Right.
There really wouldn't have been too much. He's not a t-shirt and jeans guy.
No.
A t-shirt and like I don't know what older whatever pants. Like he just wasn't. He was always like, I'm picturing myself wearing even the shoes. Like he's not going to wear sneakers.
Right. No.
He's just not.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was I also feel like he was a man that wanted to be respected.
Yes.
Like he really.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word demanded it, but
Yeah.
like.
Yes, but like to. Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to be respected.
Like
there was that air about him.
Right.
He's using the phrase. He's talking now, and he's saying that he was, quote, less than a perfect person, personality-wise.
Okay.
He's putting it that way.
Yeah.
I will give that to you.
Okay.
I think, what I'm feeling, I feel like there's this sharpness.
Okay. Again, as a granddaughter, I don't think I felt it as much as I think my mother may have felt it.
But do you see what
Yes,
I feel like a sharpness.
Yeah.
And he's actually apologizing for that. I feel reserved. He wasn't the type of person that even in a social situation, like he's not the one that's laughing and cracking jokes.
Right. Yeah.
Or even like maybe laughing at other people's jokes. He would have been the reserved one, the quiet, and almost, I'm feeling like almost like standoffish. Is this all making?
It's making sense. Again,
he-
I see it, from a granddaughter's
Granddaughter.
eyes, but again, I can see that, from my mother's aspect, it might have been more like that. But
And well, for his aspect,
Yeah, and his- yeah.
this is his aspect.
Right,
So I'm,
exactly.
I'm asking,
Yeah.
Like I do. I feel very reserved. Like he would have been at family get-togethers, but it wasn't like he was overly actively participating in family get-togethers, or even like.
Right.
But he would have been there,
Right. He
not
was always
necessarily
there.
looking like he was enjoying it, or maybe even there would have been some resignation. Like some people go to family get-togethers because they have to go, as opposed to like
Yeah. Really, yeah.
really wanting to go, like you. So that's the feeling that he's giving me. He's also saying he's going to bring somebody else through, but he's giving me these feelings, and he's clenching his fists. But at the same time he's bowing to you. He's honored by you. I mean, he's saying that he was who he was. And like he's saying that like the tough part, his phrase is the tough part of being dead is having to look at himself.
The way he was.
And the way he was.
Yeah. But, again, he needs to know that, whatever the tough part, that's not what I remember. I do remember that even though he wasn't a touchy-feely grandfather, he's the grandfather that I knew and loved.
And he's acknowledging that, but what he's saying, and he's also saying that from his perspective, you're not going to have this problem, so to speak, is that he's honored by what you're saying, and he's using the word honor. He still feels like that reserved grandfather. He still isn't feeling touchy-feely. But what he's saying is that part of his concern is that even though as his granddaughter you remember him as a loving grandfather, the way he was affected people. It did, affected others. And that the whole the pebble in the water and the ripples go out. He is sort of, what he is saying is made to watch. So he's and he uses, when he refers to you, he uses the word honored. He's honored that you remember him more favorably. He's not remembering himself favorably. At the time he felt like he was a respected man, that he was, he's understanding now that how do I want to word this? Because he's talking it and I'm feeling it, that respect, you might respect someone, like people not granddaughter, but like you respect someone, or you might show respect, but inside you're not really respecting them. You might show deference.
Yeah.
You might show like outwardly that you're showing them respect, but you're not having that inner respect. And he feels that was the case, and he's saying he didn't deserve it because he wasn't a necessarily warm, loving, or even necessarily kind person. Does that make sense to you?
Again, somewhat, yes. And it may, others in my family, my siblings, might have felt a little differently. I have a brother who is more like he was, and so again, I can see, how it's hard, to show affection. But as he said, I didn't learn that. I learned from others to show affection.
Okay.
But I also feel that it's not even showing affection as much as kindness.
Okay, yeah.
I'm feeling he wasn't an overly kind person. Like he wouldn't have been one to. He's saying like I wouldn't have gone out of my way to help people.
Again, that, I would have to defer to, the next generation up their memories, because you know, just he died when I was 19, 20. So I never saw him unkind.
Well, anybody else that would come through?
He made. He is saying, I don't feel her. He is saying that he would like to bring through a woman. He would like to bring through a woman that is, again, 2 generations back. I feel what do I feel? I feel very, again, 2 generations back. I don't feel grandmother though. I don't feel grandmother to this. So I'm feeling like she was matronly, and that you know. Give me a minute. I know these quiet moments are.
That's okay.
I'm
time.
seeing and feeling things, and the camera. You know, there's no. Too bad we could plug that into the camera and get to what I feel.
Yeah.
That would be fascinating, wouldn't it?
That would be great.
That would be great. In the meantime, I'm left with my words. Like she's wearing. I don't know. I feel matronly. I feel like she's wearing a dress with she's wearing a dress with lots of little flowers on it and buttons down the front and a lace collar, and I feel very matronly, and I feel like I've got stocky, heavy legs, and I feel like I'm wearing heavy shoes. And I realize that can describe a lot of people's. I know. It's like, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And as a medium, I'm saying, but it's so general. Yeah. But I mean, can you take that for someone that?
2 generations back, But
I'm also not feeling like grandmother to you, though. I feel like it'd be more like out, like.
Again, I didn't know great aunts and uncles. Does it seem like she's related to him?
Yes.
Okay. So technically, it could be a woman who, by blood is not my grandmother, but by heart is my grandmother.
Okay. But if I got more of a description, you could know that. Like she's showing me, and again, I feel like I'm feeling and I'm seeing very matronly, and I'm feeling like when I describe that, I'm like, I'm talking like, sometime in older women, the girls are big and they're hanging low, and that matronly look, like that's part of the matronly, that, she's also showing me hair that, at the time, like when she was older, but it wasn't short, like it was longer than yours, and wavy, but not real long, but it was like, but it was full and wavy, and she's particularly showing the hair. And she is stepping through with him, and her overall. I mean, did you know this woman that you might? Because overall, she seems like. She's actually turning around, like she was
hefty.
Yeah. Thank you. It's like, I'm afraid, like, like you get spirit here, but you still don't want to, like, that's not exactly a woman wants to be described as hefty. So it's like, so I'll take the word hefty.
Can you? Yes,
relate
that my grandmother, the woman, she was.
But you're saying she wasn't, because I'm not feeling she was your grandmother.
Right, she was not my mother's birth mother, but she was the person that he married when she was a few years old, and who raised her, and who was my grandmother, for all my life,
Okay.
So.
And I also want to add, and I want to feel that. I feel that she is. That she would have been one to defer to him.
Yes.
I feel like there's a lot of deferring going on. and that she's allowing me to feel that. I feel like she spent a lot of, much of her life working hard to please him. And he was one of those guys where you always felt a little short. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know if that could make sense to you. But, I mean, the point that she's trying to make is there was a lot of deference or deferring to him,
Right.
and constantly trying to please,
Yeah.
and trying to be a good wife.
Again, the age, and so yes, I can definitely see that.
But in their relationship, what I'm feeling and what he's communicating is that she was, there was that, trying to please, but he wasn't one to give back. He's saying, he's sharing that that's like in your parents' marriage, it's more
Right. There's cooperation.
cooperation and mutual
Respect.
and but it's being communicated there that was not the case. It was more lopsided on her part.
Right.
So the message is that again they're feeling honored. The word that's keeps coming through for you is honor, which is an interesting.
You must
word.
be a really good granddaughter.
and what I'm feeling is not necessarily not that you're not a good granddaughter. That the feeling is that you're a good person, and that they're honored by you, and the phrase he has said, you turned out quite okay. Is what maybe for him that's a compliment.
I know.
Gee, Ellen, you turned out quite okay. They're honored. And they're bringing up the subject of the pebbles dropping, and that this man has had the opportunity. He's saying to see how far out his pebbles, went and what the effect was, and that he's working hard now to improve himself. But his message for you is that that I'm feeling much more positive. He's giving me a feeling of much more positive, he's like, well, another thing he's saying, well, how did something so good come from my loins? He's saying, he's really, he's being, the phrase that I want to feel, like I want to use is he's being hard on himself.
Yeah.
But he says it's where he is now, it's like it's important.
Right.
It's kind of like a person who's being punished. He's saying, if you give them a punishment, it might be one thing, but if you ask them to punish themselves, it's, But so he's being tough on himself, but it's justified. He's like, I feel like he's saying, my wife, like he's almost like exasperated by that, like what was, like almost like what was I thinking? Like, why couldn't I have just been a little nicer? Why couldn't I have said thank you a little more? Little things that we, I feel saddened by that. Like, why couldn't I have just said thank you to her a little more?
Yeah.
But you don't have that problem. He's like,
Right.
He's saying, you don't have that problem, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So when you're dead, he's saying.
Well, thank you, Regina, for coming to the show. And thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
See you next time.